Ladies and gentlemen, for the Fringe FM, coming at you live from the middle of nowhere, the center of everywhere, here once again to give you yet another scrumptious dose of conversational boogie. Woo! This is Shift Happens. What's up, everybody in the chat room? Do follow us on Twitter at Shift Happens Pod. You can follow me personally, Gigi, over at GGRabbit1 on Twitter. Get there while you can status. And, a thing did a thing. Let me undo the thing. Okay. And also, joining us as per usual is our associate producer, Brad Harris. You can follow him on Twitter at ADS Brad Harris. What's happening, Brad?
Yeah, baby. Here we are. Christmas. Merry Christmas Eve, you guys. I can't believe we're already here again. And, man, took a week off, had a birthday last week, went by Jimmy Church's Christmas party, shredded that up. And, little does you know, I actually played a couple of guitars when he wasn't looking over there. It's kind of nice. Other than that, you guys, man, blessings to everyone. I hope you guys were really naughty this year. And, yeah, let's move forward. We got an awesome guest tonight. JP, what are you doing over there? Are you petting your pooch? We got guitars out. We got stuffed animals. We got dogs. We got smoke-filled rooms, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot going on in the back.
Yeah, there's a lot happening here. And yes, of course, as usual, JP is here as well, our co-host. What's happening, JP?
Right. Hey, guys. Wait, this must be the end of the year already? What? Wow.
Almost.
Crazy. Almost there. So, and here we are on Christmas. So glad to be here celebrating with everybody. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Wait. Who's
your best friend there?
Yeah. What is that dog right there? I didn't know you had a dog.
Yeah, this is Dobby. He's about 8 years old, and he has been on television. The week I adopted him, he was the pet of the week at the adoption place. He was on Channel 7 News.
Oh.
So
awesome.
He is not afraid of the camera. I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's so
nice.
cool looking.
Yeah, he's a cool dog.
He's fun.
Right on. And
oh yeah, he had to run.
yeah.
How'd
you like Robert's guitar solo there in the intro?
Hell
Check
yeah.
those.
That was sick. The audience couldn't hear it, but it was sick. And here comes a comment from the chat room from Eric. He says, Gigi has improved dramatically since Malort shut down their factory. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And trust me, I take no pleasure.
The downside of that is there's less clean floors because they use that to clean bar floors, right?
Yeah, and it's got to be multifaceted, and certainly no more Malort. That's I wouldn't even recommend that to my worst enemy. Absolutely not. No.
Strong enough for a man, but made for a horse.
Yeah, no more Malort. No more Malort. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you just now tuning in or you're new to the show or what have you, first of all, number one on TalkStream Live, pretty sick. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening. And for those of you listening on TalkStream Live, guess what? We have a couple of chat rooms that you can also join. That's right. The first of which is over at Spreaker.com. But the quickest way to really get there is just go to shifthappensradio.com and scroll down. We have an episode player in the middle of the homepage, and click the current episode and hit the little text message icon. And then, bam, you're in there. We also have another chat room. in the form of the Fringe FM Discord. Just go to www.fringe.fm and scroll down until you see the Discord link right there in the middle of the homepage. Click that, and then bam, get an automatic invite into the Discord. And the Discord, I mean, I'll tell you this. The OG chat room is definitely over at Spreaker through our website. That's where all the OGs hang out. But a lot of people hang out in the Discord too. And Discord, you can share pictures and GIFs and videos and all kinds of stuff that you cannot do in the Spreaker chat. So pick your poison and get there while you can. Status. Absolutely. And all right. And enough of the tomfoolery.
Nice shirt.
Who?
Gigi.
Me?
Yeah, it was.
Where'd you get that cool shirt?
You know, I got this really badass shirt from a guy named Brad, who gave me a cool gift at the Laughlin conference. Yeah. Reppin', 100%. Eagles of Death Metal. Get there while you can.
Nice.
Yeah, you wear it well, sir. You wear it well.
I'll thank you. I'll thank you very much.
Mr. Beluga approves.
Beautiful. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we've got coming up. Well, I'll tell you guys what. So next week is, well, here's the thing, folks. We got screwed over by the calendar yet again. This is the second time this has happened in the last 5 years, where we got both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We barely decided to do a show today because we didn't want to miss 2 weeks in a row. But I will tell you right now, we are going to take New Year's Eve off. Just because what's the point? Nobody's going to listen. Everybody's going to have stuff to do, right? So so that's it. So this is our last show of the year. Not only is our last show of the year, but this also officially marks the 5-year anniversary of Shift Happens. That's right. Cortana and I started the show 5 years ago, almost to the day. And I can't believe it's been 5 years. Absolutely insane. So this is our 5-year special, and what better way to end the year than with our 5-year anniversary special. So there you go. Folks.
Job well done. 5 years. Incredible. Good job.
Yeah, and I'd like to give a quick shout out to everyone who has been a part of the show. Everybody from Cortana, obviously. Me and her started this together, and then also Darren McClure, who co-hosted for a good while. Jeff Rennell actually has co-hosted more than a few times, and JP, our newest regular here, on the co-hosting seat. And man, has it been a year yet? Like, I don't know. It's been a while. You've been on here for a while, and
I think so. I would think it was close to a year this year, maybe or more. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. That time flies when you're on a schedule.
Yeah, so just shout out to everyone who's ever been a part of Shift Happens. Just absolutely incredible that we've been doing this for so long. And there you go. And with that, let's go ahead. Let's see, where are we at? Okay. Oh,
I think
perfect.
it's about time.
Yeah, perfect timing. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, tonight our guest for the evening is none other than the one and only Robert Perala. Robert is the internationally acclaimed author of The Divine Blueprint and the new revised edition of The Divine Architect. His books and life's work were inspired by an event that occurred in 1977 when he was taken aboard a spacecraft by 3 extraterrestrial astronauts. he was returned sunburned and covered in a honey/oil-like substance. He is a U.S. correspondent and host of his own The Perala Report on Facebook, and has been featured on such networks as CNN, Showtime, Coast to Coast AN, and he's obviously been on our show before, as not to mention many, many others. And he can be found at www.robertperala.com. It's spelled exactly how you think it is. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the coolest, most down-to-earth people I've ever met, the musical life of any party at any conference, and spirit animal to many. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Robert Perala.
Gigi, JP, great to be here.
Yes.
Of course, and maybe a variety show tonight of a lot of different subjects. The mystery schools, metaphysics, the esoteric, UFOs, underground news, maybe to vax, not to vax. Perhaps we will have some other things like maybe a little bit of enlightenment and wisdom, because there's so much information out there that I always feel like people they're sort of drowning in information and they're starving for wisdom. Don't you feel that? That we're now in the throes of what we lovingly call the vast and sweeping changes in consciousness. But I think it feels like a lot of people are slamming on the brakes and going, how did we get here? Does that sound familiar?
Oh, yeah. Too familiar.
Well said. Yes, it does.
It's because it's a very different world than the world we brought up in. I mean, I always kid my friends and say, well, you always wanted to know what the future was going to be like. Well, now you know. And it's a shock to the system because a lot of people are looking. I was even speaking with my son just yesterday, who's in the film industry in Southern California, big company and all that, the big movies. And I was saying, he was explaining that there were some really unusual things that were happening to him, that there was this sort of revealment almost that was happening to him, like he was going into his life review at 41 years old, or that things were occurring to him that he's never thought about before, or there's his past is catching up to him and he's having to negotiate some of his choices. And I said, that's a byproduct of what we really are talking about in a lot of these expos and conferences, which is there's that sort of phenomena of for years we called it the ascension. The ascension is coming, and it will be rising up into a new vibration where people will be reconciling their own life and coming to terms with what, their misinformation and disinformation about what they've come to believe. And that is actually happening. There's a phenomena on the planet today, even astrologically, and some chief astrologers around here saying that we're sort of caught up in the collective. We feel other people's thoughts, and we feel that the world, in essence, is sort of being birthed into a new expression. So if you feel like you're caught up, and you wonder why are you having all this emotional stuff, and why are you having this mental stuff coming up, and why are all these challenges coming up, and why does my life look like an upside down pineapple cake? Well, actually you're just caught up in the collective, and it's all the collective is connecting together. Your thoughts and everything are connected to other people's thoughts. So it's a wild time and a wild ride, and we look towards some of the biggest things that we've ever heard about in the course of human history, and that's happening. Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. And I want to start off with, because Rob, you are involved with so many different organizations and groups and companies that do a lot of good work for both people and the planet. And I would love for you to share with the audience what it is you're all involved with and what you guys do over there.
Well, a lot of people know, the name Daniel Sheehan. Danny Sheehan has been around for a long time. He's a chief UFO speaker. He's into disclosure. He goes to Washington, D.C. He talks with a lot of higher-ups to to figure out what is happening with the all of these lights that we're seeing in the upper ionosphere and the troposphere, and what's happening there. But he also heads up the Romero Institute, a nonprofit that is primarily based in climate change and the climate crisis. And he's the famed Harvard law attorney, the famed attorney for the Iran-Contra affair, the Pentagon Papers, the famed winner in the Karen Silkwood first nuclear accident case. And I came on board, and I've always been a part of him, and I've always donated to him and everything. But in March of last year, it looked very much like all the expos were going to be canceled, and we didn't know where we were going to go. And I got an invite to come and be a part of his committee of 100 to work on climate change. And so I said, okay, well, I'll do that maybe instead of the other work that I've been doing. And so I started learning about climate change, and then we sort of started to learn about, well, I'm glad I found out. I'm sorry I found out, because it is very, very serious. We're at red alert. And that work that is being implemented connects to some of the leading climate scientists. And basically you can see it sort of unraveling and unfolding in places like Darfur and Madagascar, where there simply is no water now. You see the sea level rising. They're concerned about Maine and Chesapeake Bay, where the water is coming in more and more. We see the climate crisis everywhere, breaking heat records, extraordinary heat like they had in New Mexico and Arizona this year, to catastrophic rains, and we're seeing this all over. So the planet is doing what it's going to do, and we're trying to tell people out there that it's either we get off fossil fuels and negotiate this, or we will suffer. Well, we are suffering the consequences. So that's an important one I'm working with, which is the Romero Institute and greentel.org. Yeah.
So, and on that note, by the way, JP, his power went out. So he's going to try to reconnect when he can. But in the meantime, it's just us. So, but with that said, what do you think about, I mean, kind of in a long stretch, curving around to the same point, what do you think about the types of energy propulsion? I guess you wouldn't even call it propulsion. The types of... Here, let me rephrase the question. What do you think about Bob Lazar and the way that he talks about, this sort of this gravity manipulating technology that they have? Do you think that's possible? Do you think he's onto something, or is he just full of shift? Or
no? I like Bob. I always have. He was always controversial. I mean, he goes way back. We're sort of like the old guard, right? We used to be the new guard, mid-'90s, and there was everybody coming on board, like Stephen Greer, Bob Lazar, channels like Barbara Marciniak, and then the sort of B group, which was more like me, that didn't have necessarily a hit book, but sort of was coming out and doing a lot of this kind of work. I honestly don't know an awful lot to comment directly on Bob's work, but he's there for a good reason, and a lot of people grasp onto what he's talking about, because he's basically an academic in its own way. I'm not familiar completely with his background as a scientist, but I know that he's an academic and is kind of ahead of his time. Isn't every leader like that kind of ahead of their time? And we'll see how he plays out. But I actually don't know an awful lot enough to give him credit, because I don't know his work enough. But I like him as a person. I've met him a few times. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I really, he's been vindicated so many times over the years, and it really seems like just in my opinion, he seems like someone that's genuinely just trying to tell people what's going on. And, everything from the, they tried to say he didn't work in Los Alamos until George Knapp, found the actual directory of all the employees, and sure enough, he was on it. Not to mention the news article that he was involved with, and not to get into this whole thing, but I think it's, you know, for some, I can understand why having these anti-gravitical propulsion systems well, it's not really propulsion, right? It's these other means of traveling and boosting things. That ruins the whole oil and gas industry. That ruins everything. So I can understand why those in power, the 3%ers, whatever you want to call it, would like to keep that. But I mean, how much longer do you think it's going to take before everybody realizes, like, hey, we have better technology. We don't have to push stuff out the back and use fossil fuels and do any of this stuff. We can sort of just fall forward with the gravitational anomaly that's created by these anti-gravity sort of crafts. Like why? How far away do you think we are from everybody understanding that is available and getting rid of these fossil fuel companies?
Well, certainly that's an ongoing question, and fossil fuel has been corrected an awful lot by Elon Musk and Tesla, electronic cars, driverless cars, solar panels. The list goes on and on. People now, I think, have shifted in their thinking, in that they're now realizing that climate change is not just a theory. Before, you used to get this stuff like, oh, do you believe in climate change? Or, I don't believe in climate change. Now you're having a great, vast majority, because we're older and the younger generations come in with it as almost a prerequisite in school. So we have an understanding that climate change now is very, very real, and the vast majority of the people believe that it's there and that we should move out of fossil fuels. We're at that stage where the oil divisions and super companies like Exxon and the rest of them don't want to give up the old world. So the old world is there that keeps the employee base going, and keeps the power, the structure of transportation, aviation, the fuel divisions keeping America, the rest of the world on the road. While the other ones are screaming, we got to get off the road and get to electric cars. And we're at a crossroads. Sure, we're at a crisis and a crossroads. It's going to be for everyone to come to terms with it, but you still have an awful lot of people that want their truck, the big Dodge Ram truck with the great big 8-cylinder tailpipe, $350 gas guzzling monster going down the freeway. Sensational by movies. Does everybody have a gun in a Dodge Ram truck? I starting to look like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I'll tell you what, we got to go ahead and cut to our first commercial break. Although this is more of a musical break. We're just going to play some music here for you, and we'll be back in just a few short musically minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, wait, what happened? Uh-oh, something didn't do a thing. That's not good. Oh no. That's not good at all.
Patience is a
Let me try. And then something. I really wonder, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of those live radio things. You just have to kind of find out on your own. Oh, there's... Okay, we should be back. Uh,
I can't hear you. There you go. There we go. I can hear you there for a second. Can't hear you now. Okay. Now I can hear you. Technical problem? What went down? Hmm. Things happen. Well, you've got the first half hour of the show at least. You know?
Check 1 2. Okay, I'm back on there. Back on Spreaker. Okay. Well. Oh boy. Okay, so we're back, but give me a check 1 2 3.
Check 1 2 3.
Okay, so you're back. For some reason,
It's the Galactic Federation trying to cut in again. It's those damn ETs. I've seen it before. It's happening again.
yeah, but this is more of a yeah. There's some fuckery going on here. Oh, whoops. Sorry, didn't mean to say that.
You see that on the air?
Oh, you know what the problem is? Here's one of the problems. Alright, so, well, that was weird and fun, but ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and, but we are going to take, that was a solid 8 minutes of troubleshooting. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Rob, for hanging out for all this. Absolutely.
Anything for you, Gigi.
Absolutely. And so we are going to take, if I can get this to work, oh my goodness. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. And we'll be back in just a few short minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Gigi, along with JP, although I think he's dipped away and so has Brad. But we're here tonight with Robert Perala. And we'll be back here in just a few short musically minutes. Don't go anywhere.
I came to LA to make rock and roll. Along the way I had to sell my soul. I made some good friends that made me say I really wanna be in LA. I took the 10 to get to Beverly, laid some rock to take roll out on 180. Alan and Natasha always make me say I really wanna be in LA.
And we're back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for the Fringe FM, this is Shift Happens. I am your host, Gigi, and we are here tonight with the one, the only, Robert Perala. Absolutely. And, yeah, let's just, we already missed some time due to some technical issues, so let's make up for that time, just get right back to it. So, Rob, I want to go here. This is where I want to go. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, you were taken aboard a spacecraft and now have been in extraterrestrial science for over 35 years. What have you learned about our otherworldly friends?
Well, 35 years is a long time to be looking at this, and I've been able to experience, meet, and share, and write, and be approached about just about everything related to this subject. It's incredible when people say, well, I don't know if I can believe all the things that I'm hearing. I mean, really, taking aboard a spacecraft. That's a long ways. I'm 66 years old now, and it happened when I was 22. And when I was in the Lake Tahoe Mountains on that fateful night of December 26th, the day after Christmas, going into the 27th, around 2:30 in the morning. And when people hear this story and think, well, how is this really possible? Yet I meet many people throughout my whole history of sort of being out there in one form or another who come forth with a testimony that is fairly similar. So the long and short of it is I had a direct encounter. We didn't understand it at the time. They looked like 3 8.5 foot tall, silver-suited astronauts of some kind, and had somehow the ability to open up the side of the house and take me through some sort of lighted tunnel of some kind. I know you hear about that in your death experiences. While they were very pleasant for some, mine wasn't that pleasant. When I was brought back, I was in a state of shock, covered in a honey-like substance. I could go into a lot of detail, but to answer the question directly, when something like that happened, I locked myself in my little apartment for the first 10, 12 days, and I just didn't understand how in the world that could happen. What is that? And at first I was really in denial about it, and I thought, well, this is some kind of manifestation that the mind dreams up or makes up. This is some sort of thing that maybe the Native Americans talk about when they take ayahuasca or something. But it wouldn't explain the physicalness of it and the external oil-like substance or anything else. And so 35 years later, what I've learned is that the Earth is surrounded by a number of living entities that are watching sort of a process going on of these karmic-bound souls. That's like you and I who lived and at some point were born into a certain time zone, a certain family, a certain geographical location. And all that is pre-planned before we're birthed. No soul or person here is born by random events or whatever. It's all actually understood, and it's sort of beyond your own mind's comprehension. And then when you're born, you grow up here, et cetera, et cetera. There's still a continuing force of different entities. I know we all see these little gray-like characters that they make popular on T-shirts and magazines and movies, but what I'm really telling people is that there's a tremendous influx of men and women that are coming here that have benefited from greater time and greater knowledge, and they are watching this process that we're going through of the souls that are here to learn about different lessons in consciousness and lessons in mastery of some sort of mastery, whether it be, emotional based or what have you. And they're very vested in this experience with these souls that are coming in. They are very vested indeed. And at some point, the Bible, the Gita, the Sanskrit, the Torah, the lost books of Job in the Bible, make reference to there is some kind of merging with this aspect. They would call it the return of the spiritual hierarchy. The Vedas and the Rishis talk about, the Hindu aspect of a rejoining with their deities, etc. But to sort of get to the point, yes, we're surrounded by continuing people that are not from here, that are from other galaxies, the Sirius and Pleiades system to start with. And then we're surrounded also by those who have sort of left already. I would tell people that they have lost somebody, like your mother or your father, or worse yet, a child, a daughter or a son that has gone maybe before you have, which is really hard. They are also coming back in one form or another, and they walk with you, and they hear sometimes your thoughts, and even they have an influence on that which they created. So even though they've left the physical plane, they can see kind of what they created here and see you and what they've created for you or with you. And then at the same time, they move on to other realities, sort of layers, like what Bashar says when he says there's a multiple of reality layers that are simultaneously happening. And then sometimes they drop into this layer to see how we're doing. And as we grow, they grow. It doesn't mean that just they've left the earth plane and then suddenly became all enlightened and it's all over and they've got everything they need now to further their creation. No, they are who they are because they're the result of everything they've been. So you have discarnates. Those are people that have left before us, that have lived here. You have men and women that are from other systems. And then you have like creatures that are sort of like out of the realm of our understanding. It's almost these mantid-like creatures and small and tall whites and grays. And you have those that are sort of visiting. We just are not able to see them visibly much with the naked eye. But we know enough to know that they're there. And the powers that be know that they're there, and they don't want to tell you what they know because Earth's got a lot of problems, including an ongoing pandemic, and they don't want to disturb sort of the fabric of this reality, you might say. Right.
Yeah. And
incredible.
I wonder if, I wonder a lot. But I do wonder, when it comes to reincarnation, is... like, let's take me, for example, right? I obviously reincarnated into this life that I'm living now. Do you think that was a decision of mine? Or do you think I was forced to do that anyway? Because, and the reason why I say that is, I don't know, I've had a good life, it's been good. But at the same time, I don't know. I would have negotiated some better deals before I came back, you know what I mean? So, so did I agree to this? Or was I coerced into coming back?
Yeah, you're talking about the origin of the soul. And in the origin of the soul, from what I can see and what we've learned, it's a little bit of both. There is a series of free will that is going on here, and there are people that are existing that have created, without even them knowing necessarily, an opportunity that is ideal for a waiting soul, a soul that's on the other side that may have lived here before and may not have lived here, may have done several incarnations here, may be coming into their first one, but a opportunity they see can be met. And a decision is made by the soul's angelics and the soul's sort of overlords. And they see an opportunity for a soul to be born here and a set of parents and a set of lessons. And that then they find then the soul that is due to come here, they do course you, they do encourage you, saying this is in your best interest. Some are very karmic bound, as we know, that are being born in war-torn Africa or hopeless situations, and while others live extraordinary comfort, security, and wealth. And the deciding factor, how is one born and the other one is getting a raw deal and the other one's getting an extraordinary deal, and you and I are like in the middle somewhere. Your life is good, as you said. Your life is purposeful, meaningful, but there's some parts you'd love to leave out, and it's all meant for you, though. And then the day you're born is figured out. The exact time period, for the most part, a little window is figured out, and you come through the womb. And then as you grow up, you'll deny everything I just told you.
Yeah.
And it'll all sound like brand new information when you get old enough to discern this. You'll go, what? But yet this was all discussed, yes, on the other side before you were born. I believe that for sure.
Yeah, sometimes I just wonder. I just feel like I know myself, and I know what kind of deals I would negotiate, and I would imagine that I would negotiate a slightly better deal than what I got this time. But I don't know. Maybe it's not that simple. Maybe we come back and we go through what we need to go through to grow as a soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do.
And I think that's probably what it is, right?
Yes, it's some of the most the moments that we detest the most are actually the most important to the soul. There is, if you look at near-death experience research videos, I look at those late at night on YouTube, and I see other people who have at one point or another flatlined on an operating table because of an operation or a car accident or something, and came out of their body, went to the other side, and saw pretty much an ongoing, very similar story as the other people that have had this happen to them. And they may say something to the effect of that they realized that there are millions of souls that would trade you for your worst day to be here, because Earth is the place where it's all happening. Earth is the place where a soul can grow the most in learning and lessons and emotional body and the things that we love and aspire to and the things that we detest. Both are equally important that we learn about ourselves. So life is eternal, and this is a stopping point. And then we go back to the other side and we have a life review, and we see those people that we need to also still continue to work with to some degree. So it's like you might say that every soul that comes here, no one is exempt from the things that they've created here. No one is exempt. And in fact, once you get to the other side, you meet up for all those who want to meet their parents again, or a brother or a sister again. You will actually have that opportunity. You will see them sort of on the other channel, so to speak. You will. No one's gotten out of here without healing and resolve being continuing and scheduled for more.
Well said. Well said. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and take our next break. That way we'll have a few more minutes on the next segment, and then the segment after that we might open up the phone lines if we can. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Shift Happens here for the Fringe FM. I'm your host, BG, and we're here tonight with the one and only, the great Robert Perala. And we'll be back here in just a few short commercially minutes. Don't go anywhere.
KTOK Digital Broadcasting, TheFriends.FM, Napa Valley, California, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Tired of talking about the weather? No, Shift. Well, Shift Happens is here to fulfill your desires as you reach that point in life where you crave tantalizing conversation about reality, ufology, the occult, and the conspiracies within, while simultaneously finding yourself desperately in need of your very own theme music, which we've got plenty of that too. So be sure to tune in to Shift Happens every Friday night from 7 to 9 Pacific, right here on The Fringe FM. Because the weather sucks, and you need some theme music.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of the quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
This is Ronnie LeBlanc, author of Monsterland, Encounters with UFOs, Bigfoot, and Orange Orbs, and you're listening to Shift Happens on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
KTOK Digital Broadcasting. We rock the paranormal talk.
Gentlemen, for the Fringe FM, this is Shift Happens. I'm your host, Gigi, and tonight we are joined with none other than Robert Perala. Absolutely. And let's just jump right back into it. And Yeah, a lot of people took off earlier during the mix, but we still got some folks here, so let's do this. Now, I've got to ask, Robert, have you been to the pyramids personally?
Yeah, in '97. I led a group. Well, I didn't lead a group. I was asked to be a part of the leading group. The Jockmans, Joseph Jockman and his wife were very popular at that point. And I was young. I was a up-and-coming kind of speaker. Hadn't even had the first book, but I was out there speaking, and I was asked to be on this trip. The upside of it was I made it to the pyramids. The downside of it is 40 out of the 15 days that we were there, 47 out of 50 of us got violently ill in Luxor on a boat from food poisoning in Luxor, Egypt, on only the third day of the trip. And
what was it? The flu or?
We don't know. It was really violent, though, for everybody. 47 out of 50 of us got really violently ill, and everything that could go wrong in this trip went wrong. We got stuck in the desert for 10 days, and it really was a nightmare. I mean, I just can't even describe what it's like to be that dehydrated and that sick, and then be stuck in the middle of nowhere where we didn't speak Arabic or anything like that, or we didn't know anything about Islam. I mean, I didn't know anything about it, and everybody wanted to go. So we were going to go through Luxor, Dendera, Cairo, and then the pyramids at Giza was the final stop. But I remember seeing the pyramids for the very first time, right? After we'd been stuck in the desert for 10 days, we see the pyramids, right? Yeah. And I'm so sick that at that point I'm so sick that I'm literally on all fours throwing up into a trash can, looking at the window at the pyramids, thinking, well, I traveled 9,000 miles and I fell 500 yards short. Somehow I was almost too sick, but I did actually the next day make it into what's called the King's Chamber, and I did learn a lot from it.
Wait, hold on. Did you spend the night in there?
No, they don't allow you to spend the night in there.
Yeah, the only person I know is Robert Schock, apparently, spent the night
He may have. They used to. Some people said they could spend the night in there. It wasn't when I was there. And, yeah, the thing is I was so sick when I came out of the pyramids. The next day we were due to fly home, and a doctor had come into my room and said I was to check myself into a hospital immediately. And I didn't. I thought, I'm not going to get stuck behind when everybody else leaves on this trip and goes home. And so he gave me an injection. To this day, I still don't know what it was, but he gave me an injection. Imagine that, an American foreign national getting an injection by an Egyptian doctor. I don't even know what this is. Well, long story short, in the middle of the night, as I passed out from this injection, I came out of my body, which is one of the few times you really kind of come all the way out, and in some way, I remember seeing the universe above me, below me, and on the side of me, all at the same time. And somehow I became like a little particle point trying to find an anchor for itself. Because really you're lost in the form. You're Gigi, etc. JP is JP, etc. You're experiencing your life in the material world. But if you're outside of your body, you're sort of your thoughts is what you are. You're your thoughts, And now, then I traveled to the other side, and then I saw souls like you and I, who had already lived in the material world, had already finished their incarnation and their agreements in the material plane, and I saw many things. And that's why I say in the third book, which hopefully will be out early next year, God willing. It's 95% done. It's been sitting on a shelf for a while. That's why I say that there's a chapter in there that's called Death is a Great Way for an Argument to Break Out. And what I mean by death is a great way for an argument to break out is that many people who have passed on and step out of their body, some will see and understand what's happened immediately. Yes, their parents are greeting them, or loved ones or their guides or whatever are going to greet them. Others, an argument can break out and they say, I couldn't possibly be dead because I'm talking to you, aren't I? And you find out that life is on some of the planes is just as real as this moment is to us right now. Just like you do when you dream. JP dreams at night. You dream at night. You don't really question it, do you? You just are caught up in what's in front of you and your thoughts responding. Death is a lot like that. Some people need to be told you're not going back to your physical body. So the pyramids are sort of an architectural doorway to that. How much of that is a doorway to the other side? That's the great question that they're all trying to answer.
Yeah, and what do you think about going a little off script here? But what do you think about guys like Robert Duvall and Robert Schoch? Talking about the water erosion on the Sphinx, which, according to Robert Schoch, which he really stuck his neck out there to say this back in the day, as I'm sure you know. This could only be the result of thousands of years of rainfall. What do you think about that?
Well, guys like Robert Schoch, and Robert Duvall, these guys are serious academics, and they are very, very well read into produce even those kind of books. And what I know from people like them, and they've been my teachers, is at one point it depends on who you're talking to, because it will vary, but the idea is that the Earth shifts its entire axis every so many thousand years. Some will say it's 12,000, some will say it's more, but at one point the Earth, the South Pole was the North Pole is the South Pole, and in this area of the pyramids, it was covered in water. That's probably what they talk about in the standard version of the Bible when they talk about the Great Flood, etc., and everything. But the Earth, I believe, has shifted its axis, and it has survived. It has survived at least 1 to 2 major complete pole shifts, perhaps. And the builders are still unknown. But like I say, there are many souls that are incarnating here completely from other star systems. Just because you come into the Earth and have a material life here doesn't mean that you're just originating here. You're having visitors that are coming here from other areas. It's interesting that I'm not a big Bible thumper. I'm sorry, can I say that? I don't mean Bible thumper.
Yes,
that
you can. Yeah, no.
That sounds derogatory. It's like I'm getting on them for that or whatever. But essentially, in the lost books of Job, there are the books that aren't contained in the King James Version or the Standard Version, right? And this is where we find some more information regarding the origin of the soul, the nature of existence, who's maybe come here and made reference that they've been here. It says in the lost books of Job, you are descendants of the house of Pleiades. You are descendants of the house of 7 sisters. And this area of space is what the Bible refers to as the 7 sisters, but there are 7 central suns in this particular area. This is Taygeta, Maya, Era, Electra, Alcyone, Merope. There's one other. And around, my belief is this area of space near Era, the constellation of this particular sun in Era, is where humans are coming out of and incarnating into a material world, into the earth plane here at a certain time, certain geographical location, to learn a set of lessons. But before that, the architects in that particular area of the pyramids, as you're talking about, are most likely, I'm sure, are probably like Bashar says, are Syrians that were here at one point, and a very, very different culture from us. But they understood the time-space continuum. They understood even energy and how to levitate and even lift those kind of stones, because they understood how to harness energy in a much different way, a very different culture from us, you know. And then the world is covered by water again, and the poles shift their axis, and then land reemerges, and then souls reemerge, and then we come into the world that we're looking at now, the 21st century or whatever, and here we are still discussing it. Yeah, JP.
You just right where you were talking about with origin. I'm just curious. Is there a description or a name or an idea that goes behind time that from the point of I would say fertilization up until the moment of our actual birth, where we are existing in that water that you talk about? Do you have any kind of recollection or know of people with recollection of that, or is there like an idea behind it?
You know, if you look at people that report back after they've died, they have a lot to say about where they were before they were here. And there's a recollection of a different time zone, different geographical location, a family that they were living with, etc. And you see that, there's some of that coming through. I think they are direct link to tracing the origin of the soul and tracing those experiences is found by people who die on an operating table, come out of their body, and then see a larger aspect of their own life, see other lifetimes in other time zones, and then come back with tremendous detail. Amazing. You know, these are nice people, too. These aren't people that are just trying to get on Coast to Coast or get on your show or whatever. These are nice people that were shocked, were non-believers, and then somehow went to the other side and saw, oh, my God, all this stuff I've been saying about that I believe I only live once. Well, that's completely changed now. And the fact that there's an organized body of organization and understanding before you were born here. You thought you didn't live before conception. Now that's changed, because now you realize, oh my goodness, there is a life before conception. And not only that, is it's very detailed. And I was this and this and this. And then, of course, they might go back to their minister on Sunday after this is all over and said, listen, all that stuff that you told us on Sunday, all of that is wrong. All of that is so, thanks for trying, but there's much more.
I think it was more like carefully cherry picked out of the Bible, like what would be the focus, and some of these ideas that are of such critical importance and tie so much together are the ones that they get magically get skipped over, or like you said, don't give proper due.
I mean, one good example is I don't know if you read this, Rob, but the Lost Gospel of Thomas. That throws a monkey wrench into everything.
Really? Tell us. I'm not familiar with it. Tell us.
Well, so essentially what the Lost Gospel of Thomas is, it's not really a book in the traditional sense. It's just 114 quotes from Jesus right in a row. Like, there's no rhyme or reason or anything. It's just 114 quotes. And what he talks about in that book is, I mean, if the quotes are correct, he's talking about Eastern philosophy, 100%, that goes against every grain of everything that's in the Western version of the Bible, if that makes any sense. Like he says things like consciousness is in that rock just as much as it's in the tree, and just as much as it's into you. You are one with everything. We are all one. That is not something that the contemporary books of the Bible talk about. You know, in fact, quite the opposite. The Bible talks about you can never be one with God. Like you are a subservient to God. Whereas in this list of quotes, Jesus clearly states, like, no, you are. Like you have just as much power as I do, just as much as that rock, just as much as that tree. Consciousness is in everything, and it's, like I said, very Eastern philosophy, and it's really interesting how books like that, not to mention Mary Magdalene's books or the Lost Book of Enoch and all these, you know, lost gospels, which thanks for the Dead Sea Scrolls find, you know, where they came up with some of these books. It's really interesting how these books got left out, you know, and it would really, like I said, it just, these kind of books throw a whole monkey wrench into the traditional Bible that you find in our local hotel rooms today.
It's just another particle point, another version added to, you know, the span of understanding of our own evolution and the nature of existence is vast. That's why I say, well, why not have it all? You know what I mean? In other words, why go down one avenue? You know, I mean, a lot of the, you know, there's an old fallacy that's in this world that we used to grow up with, right? And that is, our religion is right, therefore all the other ones must be wrong. Oh, that's comforting. And we can rest now. We've got the right one. And so then, you know, then they rest there, and it's comforting because the ego, as you know, wants to settle and make a deal really quick. Let's not be. Let's not exercise all the extraneous stuff. Let's just cut to the truth and everything. Then we can rest. We have the truth, right? And we're in the know. We're the happening crowd. And then, of course, as we begin to evolve, you begin to realize that life is exposing the misinformation and the disinformation about what we've come to believe about ourselves. So once you get to a little teeny tiny speck of enlightenment, you realize you know nothing really, and that you're just an open vessel to everything, which is sort of what the new when I was younger, before you guys probably were born, they were calling it the New Age movement. Later we call it the New Thought movement. You have guys like Ernest Holmes and others that try to explain an approach to the sciences and to the creator in a way that makes it easy for all of us to sort of be accepting of all these things. And you don't have to divvy it all up and worry that you got the right religion and therefore the other ones are the wrong ones. And you realize that that's futile. You know, we're just barely scraping the surface of existence. You know.
Yeah.
That's what brought me to you, right? In those expos, right? They call it Conscious Life Expo. You know, they don't call it Conscious Denial Expo, you know, which is kind of like church or the temples or whatever. Sometimes they practice conscious denial, you know. It's sort of like, you know, you got to have an open mind to it all, to any consideration. If I meet a guy who's into the rishis and the renunciants, I did the other night even, you know. I immediately found some common ground, and we started chatting because I can be very comfortable on his level, having him tell me about the Vedas and the renunciants and all this, and I don't have to worry where he comes from. He's just giving me a little tiny piece of his finding of the infinite wisdom.
Right, and so, you know, I'd hate to go back to this, but I can't help myself. So let's do this. So when it comes to things like, you know, let's take it a step back. Let's go to Göbekli Tepe, right? 12,000 years ago. You know, somebody obviously had the time to, you know, apparently they weren't worried about hunting squirrels or, you know, gathering berries. You know, they had some extra time to build this stuff. Do you and not to mention, as far as the academics go, they're pretty convinced that this site was buried intentionally 12,000 years ago, which means who knows how long that site was there before they buried it. But all we know is that they buried it 12,000 years ago. But surely that site was there for quite a bit longer. So, who do you know? For example, we had Michael Cremo on the show.
Oh, really?
A couple weeks ago, yeah, and one of my favorites, absolutely. And so, what do you? Here's one thing we talked about with Mr. Cremo was, the fact that history is perhaps not linear, but according to the Vedas and the Puranas and everything, it's more cyclical. What do you think about that?
Well, I can tell you're into all these academic guys because you've brought up a number of the key ones, Michael Cremo and these other guys. Yes, I'm going to agree. Life is very, very cyclical. Everything in your body even is cyclical. It's certainly a good assumption to assume that the secrets of life's continuum, as they call it, is cyclical also. There's a season to everything. There's an involvement and then a passing over and then a reemergence in everything. I always think it's interesting that when we get to the expos, and I've hosted these guys, the guys that you've all mentioned, and that here I've you'll notice I've been kind of on more of the question asking side as an MC because I'm curious about them. These guys are all academics, and I've always I'm not that well read in that areas, but I'm an experiencer. Some of these guys are serious researchers. I actually don't sell myself as a researcher. If I'm asked about those kind of things, I tell them, you want to go to a good researcher? Yes. Go to Robert Bouval, go to Greg Braden, go to Michael Crean. Those guys are the real researchers. As you know, I'm an experiencer, and my presentations are more of a variety show, a variety of, I like to say, the more important aspects of the human experience, such as what we should maybe be paying attention to while we're incarnating here. I'm very personal growth oriented. I'm very relief oriented, working with different souls here. I do some sort of almost social work. At the same time, if somebody asks me, will I see my grandmother again? Will I see my mother again? I become very present with that kind of thing. And I will tell you and tell your audience that, yes, I've seen their footsteps in their places. I've been very blessed. But sort of one of the things is to be asking even the right kind of questions, too. Before I go to bed at night, or I take a few minutes every day, usually lie on my bed, and I ask them specific questions. I don't expect an answer right away. I meditate every day. I kind of clear my mind just from the clutter and the noise of the human experience that we're having here. And I ask questions, and sometimes those questions get answered in the middle of the night. And I ask each, a lot of times, help me merge my physical experience in the material world with the level that's just beyond this level. I'm always trying to create a bridge between the material plane and the non-material plane. So like the academics want to study history, I take that time and try to naturally bridge my existence with that which is understand. And so I love the mechanics of the malleable realities. I love the mechanics of that, where thoughts come from, how we what the importance of our dream at night. That's 1/3 of our life. That many people don't even question it. I said you should. It's 1/3 of your life, even though you only see consciously a glimpse, usually in that last section before you wake up. But all that is vital that we understand that and live a purpose-driven life with dignity and direction. Because the rest of the world's gone mad, and most souls are, terribly unconscious. I am too, but they go out and they create things that want to hack into your computer, or they've got strange ideologies like North Korea, socialism, China, thinking, okay, one directive is the right way, so everybody has to listen to me and follow this way. We've gone the world has gone through dictator after dictators until we finally shoot them or hang them, because they give us, what seems like a good deal at first, and then we say, no, I don't want that. In North America, of course, we had the insurrection, and everything, and so you can just tell the souls are restless here, wanting more and wanting a better system. I try to assist them with what I know about personal growth and ethics and understanding of living. A little bit of history in my show, well, it's kind of limited, I'm just being totally honest here with you. Why not?
Yeah. And, I'll tell you what, we're just going to go ahead and skip the last break. Let's just keep going. And so I did give the call-in number out to the speaker chat room. But for those of you that are not in the chat room, the call-in number is, are you ready? Are you ready? Yes. It's 1-928-208-4465. Again, that's 1-928-208-4464. And get there while you can status. And so which I imagine you've had your travels around the world. What are some of the more, have you been to the pyramids? Have you been to Machu Picchu? Have you been to Lebanon? Where have you been, and how has those travels impacted you?
There's been several. The Acropolis in Greece, pyramids at Giza, the temples at Dendera. I've been to Finland, Austria, Sweden, Switzerland. I spoke French, not real fluently, but I spoke French in the 80s and things like that for business and things like that. But I think the most interesting kind of comes about not only at the pyramids that we mentioned, but was in Glastonbury, England, where we were going to go to Stonehenge. And I was very in a new relationship with Her Majesty, my wife, very British, born in Berkshire, England, which is about 50 minutes west of London. And we were dating. We weren't married. This is before we were married. And I said, well, let's go to, she said, we're going to go to this wedding, and then we're going to go to Glastonbury. And I said, well, I'd love to go to Glastonbury. I know Glastonbury from the Glastonbury Music Festival, right? But I'd never been to sort of the sacredness of Glastonbury, and the unexpected happened. Sometimes when we go to a certain site, it can trigger a previous experience that you've already been there, though you've never been there maybe in this lifetime. It can trigger once in a while something of a previous experience, and it did there. And when I went to Glastonbury, and Glastonbury is, famous for its teachings within the mystery schools, its long history. When I got there, the unexpected happened, though. Somehow, I couldn't stay awake. Not that it was boring, but I literally couldn't stay awake. In the middle of the day, we got to the hotel, and I passed out, and it was like suddenly my spirit was in another room where it was dark, and I could hear this talking. And as this talking was continuing on, it was a language I couldn't make out, I couldn't understand it. And it was like I was completely in darkness, but I could hear this voice, not realizing that it's me, and I'm lying in a bed in this hotel in Glastonbury. My girlfriend, who's now my wife, is standing over in astonishment, realizing that I can't wake up and that I'm speaking in an old Gaelic language. And from my perspective, it felt like I was in another room in darkness, and I was hearing the language in another room, and I couldn't move my body. My body was completely, I couldn't use it. I didn't have any energy or spirit in the body to actually move it. And she was trying to, ask, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And all it was this Gaelic language coming out. And eventually I came back into my body, and I opened my eyes, and she's standing over me, and I'm really disoriented about what happened, because I seem to have even though I was in this dark room, I seem to have an understanding of a different experience, of a different language that I used to speak, of a different time that I used to live in. But it's not this time, right? Of course, as I came into my body, opened my eyes, and just, "Well, what's happening here?" And she's just like, you scared the hell out of me. You scared the hell out of me. What is this? It's talking in another language, and I can't get you up. I can't get you awake. So those sacred sites, or they don't even have to be sacred. You could be visiting a ley line and have an anomaly styled experience like that, because it's somehow triggering that it's part of your experience that you were already here. That's why people can recite things that they should know nothing about. You see the young child that became so famous on YouTube describing his period in World War II and going down in his plane and hitting the ocean, and then being on the other side, and then eventually comes back on this side and describes the name, the place, the day he was shot down, even the engine block numbers were described, and he knew all this detail. How can this 6-year-old tell us this? And then they look it up and they think, "Oh my God, he's describing exactly this guy, and he says he's this guy." So there's a lot going on here between our life in the material world and our previous existence, and just a sacred site like you were talking about that can trigger it. Why? Wonders knows, right?
Yeah, and it's just so interesting how, even with modern technology, we cannot imitate the construction that they've done back in the day. We can get kind of close, but when you're talking about 1/8 of a degree, to true north, the whole pyramid complex, wow. Just wow.
Yeah. Well, you're following the story with the Webb telescope, the Webb design, the Webb, satellite. And it's not satellite. What do they call that? Like we have the Hubble telescope. It's the Webb telescope. Are you following this story?
No, I can't say I am.
So on 60 Minutes last Sunday, they show this new device that is going to go up. It hasn't been launched yet, but it is 100 times what the Hubble telescope is. This is going to go so far out of our solar system and into the universe. We've never done anything like this before. And what they're describing is a onboard brand new system that will trace time and the time-space continuum. And they were describing that once they launch this, they'll know about how light travels and about how sound travels, and they will know much more about how old Earth might be. And they're trying to actually understand distance, which is so far beyond our comprehension. I wonder where these math guys come from, right? I'm not one of these guys. In my world, 4 and 2 is 42. Okay, so it's very, that's my world. Okay, now, but these cosmologists know math. Like, what do? Just sit around and push all those buttons since you were 8 years old, and now you're 76, and now you've figured out how to launch one of these things, and that's what these guys are about. It's amazing what's happening. While that is going on, another thing is happening right underneath our noses. Most people, a lot of people don't even hardly discuss the 15,000 first rollout of satellites that's being launched by SpaceX, Tesla, and that they are launching these into space, and they call them the bread boxes, actually, and because a lot of these satellites are only as big as a large bread box, and they load them into the rocket, they launch it up into space, the bomb bay doors open, and then they drop out these breadbox satellites, and then the foils open up and it locks into position, and then they go around and the circumference of the planet, and this is what the space war is all about, to watch everything as above and so below, and to all of this 5G and all this stuff they tell you about is like, oh my God, this is not that great of a story, okay? All this stuff about faster download speed and gaming and all this, that's such a microcosm of what this is about. What this is really about is to watch everything in real time, on your phone, where you are, etc. Eventually, Neuralink, which is another division of Tesla, will put it right here and put something, they're working on the chip that will go in there. So if you leave this at home and you're out there on your own, they can find out where Gigi and JP have gone to. Where are these boys? And that's what's...
That scares me. That scares me.
It does. And Elon Musk, one would have to be very naive to think that he isn't right on top of disclosure and wanting to get there first, even though he will play it down. Like how innocent he looks when he gets asked about whether extraterrestrials exist. And he goes, well, I don't know. I mean, boy, it's like being in a police lineup. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't even know these guys. Yes, you do know what is going on, Mr. Musk. You do know what's going on. and so that's where we're at.
Yeah. And, man, that scares me. That's good. In fact, earlier today, I left, I got my car and I drove to the store, and halfway there I realized that I forgot my phone. And I'm not going to lie, I freaked out. I freaked out, but it kind of made me realize, like, wow, we have a real overimportance of having this tracking device on you, essentially, and I kind of got over it. I was already halfway there, like, whatever, like, I'm just gonna keep going, but it was interesting. I found it very interesting how much I freaked out once I realized I didn't have my phone. And that's kind of a scary... I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have internet. We just rode our bikes around the neighborhood and ran into people and did that,
All of the senses have been dulled, though. I've been using those senses for so many years, and now we've got this brick up to our heads all the time, or to our face. Yeah, it's quite a change. And for as much as I've seen a few years more than Gigi, Robert. Like maybe you've seen maybe a few years more than me, but just in this short period span of time, just the amount of change the three of us have seen, three different perspectives, separated by a few years here and there. I mean, it's just so amazing. I don't know where it's going, but I would say at this point, men like you, Robert, are probably super valuable. I'm glad there's people like you or people with this sort of ethical concerns and just the baseline knowledge. It seems like we're lacking that so many ways. So really refreshing to hear these. I don't know if these are things you've been working on all your life, or things that you've come up with more recently. But wow, it's nice foundation of information.
That's awfully nice. Thanks, JP. Yeah, I try to find, what's really important to us, because there's science, there's noise, there's all this palaver that is sort of going on. And I always go back to, why are we really here? What are we really, knowing that we're here temporarily, what is it that I really want to take away from this experience, And it's like trying to find the diamond in the garbage, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken a lot of hits recently too. People don't think that my liking Robert F. Kennedy is a great idea. My views on vaccination, unvaccination are mine, and not everybody agrees. I remember when I went on tour with David Icke, and I built those 3 shows in 2016 of the Worldwide Wake Up Tour. Boy, I took a lot of hits for that, because they thought,
Wow.
you're
Yeah,
hanging
I bet.
with
Yeah.
him. Well, what are you doing with him? I told you, I've had a few names that that said, I told you not to hang out with him, and don't be. He's he's a misinformant and a disturber, and actually he kind of looks like a prophet now.
Yeah. And dude, I totally feel you. And dude, guess who I have coming on the show next month? Take a wild guess.
Not David. Seriously?
No.
Who?
No, not David.
Not David.
Bart Seibel.
Bart Seibel?
Yeah.
What's he about?
Oh, he's the one that made he has this. He made a couple of documentaries about how the Apollo missions were all a scam, essentially.
Oh, okay. He's in that group.
Yeah. It's going to be It's going to be very controversial.
Moon landing was in a studio.
Yeah,
I mean,
he gets into
I
the
like
whole
this-
Kubrick thing and all that stuff. And but I just figured, what? Why not? Let's have that guy on.
You know what? That's what your show's all about, isn't it? You've got to have a variety. It's just, and why not open it up like that? I see the Facebook and everything. I see the names that we hang out with in our community, and I see who really gets on to that. Lately it's been Paul McCartney. And there's a particular guy out there, with the Paul McCartney is not real, and that he's really Billy Shears, and the real Paul McCartney was in another accident. Interestingly, in looking at that, he said, well, the one he was replaced with, the one that we have now is 6'3". Well, in 2005, and that happened in 1967, right? Well, in 2005, I met Paul McCartney. I was very fortunate to meet him in your neck of the woods in Los Angeles area at Century Plaza Hotel. He come walking right up to me, thought I was the greeter that was going to take him to the press room. There was nobody there to greet him. So I said, I'll be that guy. I didn't even think of it twice. I said, yes, I am that guy. As a matter of, he said, oh, like I was supposed to take him there. And I thought, don't ask any questions. I'm with Paul McCartney. I mean, that's big. For a musician my whole life, this was the go-to guy, This is the Beatles Beatle. This is the cool dude with his Chelsea boots. When he walked up to me, when I saw this comment the other day about this other Paul McCartney being 6'3", I thought, no, it never happened. I remember very specifically meeting Paul, and he, if anything, could have been he was an inch maybe taller than me, if at all. And he was wearing actually the suede Chelsea boot that's like they wore in '66 with the Cuban heel. I mean, he really was not really any taller than I was. I remember that very specifically. I remember seeing him. So he was up right next to me, talking to me. I remember sort of clocking that. Now I really see and feel what he's like, and he's not tall. He's not 6'3". If there is such a thing as Prince Charming, it is Paul McCartney. He's very much a charmer, this one. And he walks in, and you realize, okay, yes, he is a knight of the British Empire. He is the architect of all these songs. And he has met every world dignitary you can almost imagine, probably short of Xi Jinping or maybe Putin or whatever, but he's met them all. A very worldly guy. But I tell you, I think the Paul McCartney that I met is the same Paul McCartney that, we saw when we were young and they were on TV. And I saw them actually in 1966. I saw the last live show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was there for my 11th birthday. My dad took me. I saw the last live show. Didn't know it. Nobody knew it at the time, right?
Lucky
and
you.
The thing that was going on that summer, this is long before you were born, but in August 29th of 1966, that whole tour, that last tour that they did, everything that was going on in the press was John Lennon's statement, "We're more popular than Jesus." And it was a flippant statement, like we say, oh, well, exaggerated statement. We use those all the time. We're more popular than TV or whatever, But that was what was going on at the time. And they were smoking a lot of grass. And there were people in the right-wing Bible Belt said, we're not having any of that. We're going to burn all those records, and they're never going to be allowed here ever again. It's a little piece of history.
Wow. Wow. Lucky you. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, we've only got about 6 minutes here. So I would like to allocate this time to let people know what you're doing and what you're involved with, and which is a lot of cool stuff. And where we can expect to see you next. I'm assuming the Conscious Life Expo. You'll be there with your guitar and being the life of the party and all that stuff. But what else? What else you got going on, my friend?
It'll be continuing with Danny Sheehan, the climate change effort, California's Green New Deal, raising awareness, because he was always saying, a very famous guy, too. He's by far more than I do. He'd be a good guy for your show. But he says, I'm grooming you to be a different kind of speaker. I don't want you to just talk about UFOs and the secrets of life's continuum or whatever it is. I want you to talk on climate change, because the world is on fire and you need to go put out the fire now. And so that'll continue. Tomorrow I'm actually volunteering with helping those that are unhoused community, homeless, and I am a volunteer and have donated some of my time to Food Not Bombs. It's called Food Not Bombs. Good name, 40-year-old 501c3, and helping because there's been a lot of people displaced here from the rains, etc. And next year, I definitely hope to get out the revised edition of the second book, which is completely rewritten, with Mary Jo Stresky, and hope to get that out, early next year. And as far as going on the road, who knows? I don't think any other speaker really has an awful lot booked. We saw some expos this year, MUFON, and we saw.
Luckily, yeah.
I don't know if Contact in the Desert is coming back. I don't know. There's New Living Expo. New Living Expo will be in Northern California at the San Mateo Event Center, and you'll see Marianne Williamson and David Wilcock there. Did I say David Wilcock? Is that all right to say that on this show?
It's David? Okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Very controversial guy.
Yeah.
I like David. I do.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, he gives a lot more good than he does all this other stuff, right? I think he tends to, he's got his opinion.
He's definitely, whether you agree with him or not, you still want to hear what he has to say,
Exactly.
I think that's really what it comes to.
Yeah, he holds on to his audience because he does have new things. But, we'll see. Guys like him are great, and they're valuable. And we'll see, I guess, what the next COVID phase will be, because I don't know. Why do they have to choose that name, Omicron? Does that not sound E.T.? When they said Omicron,
yeah.
E.T., that kind of disturbed me. I mean, You know, there's actually a movie called Aliens from Omicron, I think it is. It's a 1953 Italian movie. And it shows these like space invaders coming down. And it shows, it's called like Invasion of the Omicron or something. That name's actually been associated with E.T. in an old Italian sci-fi movie. And then it comes up now, right? It's like, why that name of anything, please? It just sounds creepy.
And then people pulling the letters apart and finding the acronym of moronic.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
up, right? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That shows you where we're going. I would just say, realize that your thoughts have real power, and you can project what you want to see in your life to a large degree by stating your intention to the universe. There's a lot that's visiting us, and they're there to help. And shows like yours are valuable, invaluable, and very important because they afford us a lot of new thought and a lot of consideration. And Lord knows the world sure needs it because, it just needs it.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, we're going to have to go ahead and wrap this up, my friend. But real quick, before we do, where can everybody keep up with you and follow everything that is Robert Perala?
Find me at robertperala.com. That's my website. And follow me where all the old people say are, which is over at Facebook. Is that true? Facebook is for old people? Well, the people follow me there because it's so immediate,
That's the room.
Come and be a friend on Facebook and friend me, and I'll share, And thanks for having me on, JP and Gigi. Always, lovely to be on your show. It's a ton of fun. My kind of radio, right?
Really fun time.
Right, yeah, and thank you for taking your evening of Christmas Eve to spend with us. Very much appreciated. I very much just thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Merry
sir.
Christmas. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to boogie right the hell on out of here. This show has been hosted and produced by yours truly, Gigi. You can follow me on Twitter at GGRabbit1. But more importantly, follow the show over at Shift Happens Pod. And our co-host tonight was JP. Where can they follow you, JP?
Well, right here at Shift Happens and propertyofmars.com.
Propertyofmars.com. There you go. And special thanks to Eric Awakening Man, our roaming reporter. And as always, all blames and faults go to Fran. Yes, that's right. Hashtag Fran's fault. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'll tell you what, we're going to take New Year's Eve off. So we will see you in the new year. All right, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have a good New Year, and we'll be back on January 7th with Michael Paul Masters. Yes! All right, we'll see ya. Cheers to ya. Drink some eggnog for me.